From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, Wednesdays with Tom Lang. It's going to be good, everybody, I promise. And some bad takes that Corey's going to have to sift through from me. Wake Up Warchant brought to you by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. cptallybar.com. That is the website. You can always pull the phone out, camera app it, boom, hit the barcode, and go right to it. In an ideal world, gentlemen, we would be able to take Corner Pocket Bar and Grill with us to New Orleans. Unfortunately, we cannot, but through the good hard work of Tom Lang, we are going to have somewhere to hang out on Saturday. And if you're in New Orleans, you should be a member of warchant.com. Subscribe. It's only $1. You're going to New Orleans. You've got $1 left over to subscribe to the website. But you can come hang out with us. What are the details on this, Tom? I'll let you take the victory lap. You did all the hard work.
So it's, there's also Sean, a legendary headliner who helped put us in contact with the Howlin' Wolf. That'll be the location. It's on Saturday, and it's from 2 to 5 local time. So 2 to 5 Central on Saturday. We figure you might want to get out and about on Friday night, and you might want to get out and about once again on Saturday. So why not meet nice and early as you begin your second day in New Orleans, at least for us, on Saturday afternoon, 2 to 5 p.m., the Howlin' Wolf. It is right next to, it looks like just a short walk from the World War II Museum, that part of New Orleans, the Warehouse District, as it's known. The address, for those who don't want to look it up, is 907 South Peters Street. We'll see you there. It's just an informal say hello, watch some college football, drink some beer, and eat some food.
True or false, Corey? You'll have some glossies, some 8x10s, and a Sharpie?
That's false. We don't want to encourage that. We're not looking for autograph seekers. We're just looking to talk to people. Be men of the people, right? We don't want to. We're not bigger than you guys. We put our pants on one leg at a time, like you guys do. It's just after we do that, we're awesome. But either way, I was worried that it was going to get done. T. Lizzie came through in the. That was like Kelvin Benjamin's catch in the end zone, man. You came through with the clutch right at the end, man. Good job.
Yeah. Well, without fracturing any relationship that we have with the fine people of the Howlin' Wolf, I was also nervous. But it all worked out, and there's going to be a lot of people out there. You just know it. I saw the reaction. I think the Kentucky Seminole Club quote tweeted Warchant's tweet right away saying for anybody go to New Orleans. So I wonder how far across this great contiguous 48 states, or maybe farther, people are going to come from in the country to come see us. But that'll be fun. Maybe we'll have a bingo card.
Well, I was wondering,
Ralph from Hawaii's here, so he'll be out there.
Right. That's right.
I was wondering, what are the odds? We know there'll be dudes there. Are there going to be a group of women that come? And I know women listen to this show, and I know women are big sports fans and can be big sports fans, and some are fans of us. But do you think we know there'll be a bunch of group? And we hang out with guys. We love guys. Any chance there's like a sixsome of women that just roll through that are fans of the show?
Bachelorette party, I think, for sure.
Yeah, bachelorette party that wants to hit the wake up, the war chant party before they go out for the night.
It's going to happen. It's going to speak into existence. Yeah, bachelorette
Tom,
party.
what do you think? I know you're happily married. I'm happily in a relationship. Aslan's looking for all comers. Just wondering if that was out there. Just wondering if there's a chance that could happen.
So I was going to set the over/under on a women's only Florida State group at 4.5. So I see you're going over, but I think there's a decent chance there might be 4 ladies who traveled from, I don't know, say like Dallas or Atlanta or something like that just love the hell out of Warchant, because we serve everybody, man. Yeah. All FSU fans, in fact.
And we're lovable.
Some of us.
Most of us. Right, yeah. I shouldn't speak for you, Aslan.
Be nice. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, the presenting sponsor of this show. Check them out even while we're out in New Orleans. If you can't be in New Orleans, go watch the game at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill off Appalachia Parkway. Again, the website, cptallybar.
Hey, speaking of that real quick. So
Absolutely.
Say Florida State beat Fitzgerald kicks a 46-yarder at the Horn to beat LSU. I am going to get Bill. We're both friends with Bill.
There's no Horn,
Tom and I are
we get you.
big friends with Bill. To send me the footage, the security footage, the video camera of the reaction at Corner Pocket when the kick goes through, because I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be great pub for Corner Pocket, and it would get a ton of views. Don't you think? Don't you love watching those videos when something when a fan base reacts to something on TV?
Yeah, I was in corner pocket for a non-FSU event, and it went nuts. It was the buzzer beater for Villanova over North Carolina in the championship game. And the place was locked in because that was a basketball game that within the first two possessions, you're like, oh, I see. This is going down. This is going to be a great one. And for a Noles game, though, I've never seen – I was there for Louisville in 2014, the rally in the second half.
There you go.
And people were standing on the tables by the end of the night. So, yeah, that's going to be some good footage. He makes sure that he has one of his managers on it, though, because we want to put it out that night. Bill's going to be in New Orleans like the rest of us.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be texting Bill immediately. As soon as the kick is airborne, I'm going to be texting Bill because I know it's going in. Fitzmagic ain't missing that. So when it goes through, Bill better get that footage to me pronto.
All right. Well, we'll make it happen. Just got to do your job now, Ryan Fitzgerald, which we got the edge there, guys. I think their kicker is like a walk-on first-year guy, so feel good about that. Feel good about a lot of the matchups against LSU. We're not able to go to practice today. We'll be at practice on Thursday, but what did we see Tuesday at practice that buoys our hopes, perhaps? Tom Lang, you wrote some observations for warchant.com. Again, if you're not a member, $1, warchant.com, whole year. Take advantage. What did you see on Tuesday that makes you kind of, I don't know if it makes you feel confident about the game, but what did you take away from Tuesday's work?
Yeah, a continuation of Jordan Travis' decisiveness. There's something we saw in Saturday's game, and watching it multiple times, the condensed version or the full version after, I felt better about Jordan's performance every time I watched it. The numbers were already good. It was 11-15 with a couple of drops, and we reacted to that right here on Warchant TV for the watch-along and the post-game. But it's just how quickly the ball came out. That there was an urgency to Jordan that you only would really see in previous seasons or with a 2-minute drill or something along those lines. He looked like at times he was waiting for the perfect play rather than the one that was in front of him. And we talked about it today at practice that, there are a couple of throws that Jordan misses because either he was maybe too greedy or he locked on the first target instead of seeing something else open up somewhere else on the field. But that's a real quarterback discussion. That's like a real breakdown of what a quarterback is doing or not doing, which is fun because it's novel. With Jordan, you really wouldn't talk about his play that way. You talk about other elements of what he brings to the table. So I was buoyed by that and his performance. And then today, again, at practice in the versions or the drills that I saw, Jordan, again, it was just if the ball was out, it was out on time. There was no being timid with the football. That's a good trend because that speaks to confidence that he has in the system and in himself.
How important is it, too, Tom, and Aslan as well? Like, he threw my two favorite passes that he threw on Saturday night, it's Duquesne, so we all know how to judge this, but two in routes, one to Portier and one to Span, that were on time, in rhythm, thrown with conviction. And also, how big a deal is it, man, that he gets to throw to 6'4" guys? He's not trying to fit it to 5'10" guys running crossing routes. He gets to throw to real bona fide receiver bodies. I just have to imagine part of the reason he wasn't great throwing it in the middle of the field and never has been, he hadn't had a lot of weapons to use in the middle of the field. Now you got Span, Portier potentially, Johnny Wilson. You've got guys in the middle of the field that are big targets. That has to help a quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, look, nobody's going to confuse Jordan Travis with Drew Brees at the height of his career, Kurt Warner in terms of accuracy. He's not inaccurate, but he's not on that level where you're saying pinpoint all the time. And when you have, we use this analogy on the pregame show this weekend, if you were operating as a college pitcher with a teacup of a strike zone, it's going to be a long game. It's going to be a lot of balls called. And I feel like with the receivers last year, either their lack of ability to separate or just they're not that big of as people, you're throwing basically towards a teacup-sized strike zone. And now that strike zone is massive compared to what he was working with.
It's like Eric Gregg. It's an Eric Gregg strike zone.
That's right. That's Marlins Braves, right?
Just get it airborne. Get it airborne. He's going to call it a strike.
Marlins Braves back 25 years ago. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, and so there's confidence that comes with that. The talking point for me on Jordan Travis last year was he didn't have an offensive line that could consistently block for run or pass, didn't have receivers who could get open, and the running backs were above average but not great. Other than that, they were loaded on offense. So now they look more like a balanced offense where he doesn't have to be pinpoint. And so you can see that there's comfort level going with that. But then he also talked about how the offense was really complicated in preseason camp. He says, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a really tough offense, but now I understand it. So I think all those things are conspiring together to get the Jordan Travis that we're seeing.
I'm kind of getting drunk off the Kool-Aid, but not the Flavo. Not the Flavo-Aid.
Yeah. You go Kool-Aid. I thought we were a Flavor Aid show. I thought we
No.
went with the real liquid that they drink.
I want to
Just
watch
saying.
this game. I mean,
Oh, gotcha. Fair enough.
I don't know. I mean, did Jimbo even speak this effusively about Jameis? I mean, Mike Norvell, after practice on Tuesday, he loves himself some Jordan Travis. He is super excited about what he has. It's a genuineness. I almost feel like he was sort of passively, aggressively taking shots at Brian Kelly about talking about, quarterbacks can talk about being confident, but it's real with Jordan. And then when he's asked about, LSU not naming a quarterback, he just goes into instant shells up mode and just gives like 2-word answers with a smirk. Like he knows, he believes, like I was going to say he feels, but he believes that he's got just a supremely talented quarterback. And I'll take his word for it, man. Again, I've never been all that high on Jordan's performances, but, man, what we've just heard from the last 2 weeks as camp has kind of winded down. Again, I think Tate started really strong in camp. I never was advocating for him to take over, but I was like, man, maybe the offense would look better if he actually somehow got into a game. That's not the case at all. We've seen that. But Jordan, just the way that Mike's talking about him right now, Corey, I don't know. It seems – I just feel like – there's something, I don't want to say special going to happen this season, but, man, I just think he believes that he's got a really talented quarterback and he can do whatever he wants. Maybe that kind of goes to your point, too, because he also knows that he's got those weapons out wide right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you go back to it, I think Jordan Travis, after not throwing for 200 yards in the first 8 or 9 games of his career, has now done it 4 times in a row. Again, he's not putting up Pat Mahomes at Texas Tech numbers. That's where he went, right?
Correct.
Mahomes is Texas Tech. He's not doing that. He's not throwing for 500 yards a game. But 200 yards for Jordan Travis, when you can run like he can run, and what his presence means to the running game, that's an effective college quarterback. And if he can make the in rhythm throws and find the guys that are open, and not just depend on, once every 2 quarters he's going to hit a big throw, but other than that, it's going to be kind of hit or miss. If he can be this kind of steady and calm and consistent, man, that's a good college quarterback. And I will say this, going back to your question, I remember Jimbo pulling us aside after a press conference in 2012 with all the cameras were off. It was like before the Florida game or before a game late in the year. And he said, who do you guys think will be the highest draft pick on this team right now? This was November of 2012. We went through 10 people until I think Gene finally said, Jameis? And then Jimbo got this big smile on his face. Now, we did literally we were so invested in Jameis or in EJ Manuel, and Jacob Coker had been good that we did. It's not that Jameis was an afterthought, but he wasn't one of the first 10 people we mentioned. Jimbo knew in November, man, this kid is something special. But
what about October? Too bad he didn't know in October. We could have used him in October, maybe.
Right. But the point being, after that, anytime he spoke publicly about Jameis that first year in 2013, it was always seeming like tempering expectations. Like, guys, he's not perfect. He's not Superman. He's going to make some mistakes. So he genuinely loved Jameis Winston, but he didn't speak publicly as glowingly as Mike Norvell speaks about Jordan Travis. So the point being, Jordan Travis is better than Jameis Winston. That's the point I'm trying to make. Tom, are you ready to say that?
Oh, man.
Come on. Do it, Tom. Aggregate.
Come on, Tom.
There we go. Yeah, is that good for the algorithm on the headline?
Yeah, pull that out. Pull that out and make that part of the just give it a 4-minute video clip.
Yeah. Jimbo did give ridiculous amounts of praise for James Blackman, lest we forget, when he was forced to play him after the Francois injury. He was saying something like there's something special about this kid, and Alec Eberle didn't help it out at all. He said something, I don't know what it is, but wait till you see. And it's like, man, the truth is somewhere in between here, Corey. I'm not willing to go that far. But it's just, I remember one thing, it made us all laugh last year, was after the North Carolina went on the road. And Mike was talking on Monday about a simple throw. It might have been a third down, like a drag on 3rd and 6. And he goes, that's a real football play. Like he was so thrilled that we were talking about Jordan Travis making a read and making a throw that was a real quarterback read. And that tells you how far things have come since then. But I'm just excited, like Mike was then, about we can actually talk about Jordan Travis as though he is a real college football quarterback. Is he top 3 in the ACC, top 5 in the ACC? We can go back to those preseason questions. I don't know. But I just like that we're assessing him without any more caveats. I think that's where the conversation has gone. I hear myself, Aslan, talking about this stuff, and I cringe as well with the Kool-Aid stuff. I'm just talking about I'm thrilled that we're having a regular conversation about a quarterback at Florida State. It has been 6 years since we've done that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this as we let you go out of here. Tom, I got to, again, overwhelm Corey with some bad takes. I try to ask Norvell this after practice on Tuesday, but, me being the clumsy guy I am, it came out a little bit clumsy. Corey did a really good job. Shout out Corey Clark, scouting report. He dropped it Monday on the show, totally unsolicited. We didn't even talk about it. He's just like,
that's how I do.
Just going to dive into this roster. The secondary, a lot of new pieces, and that was a huge question mark for them going into their preseason camp LSU. And I think at some point Brian Kelly's like, we were concerned about that, but now we have a lot of depth. I don't know if he, necessarily said he maybe likes what they have, but depth's a different kind of thing. But the linebackers also maybe not nearly as impressive or athletic as LSU usually has. So those matchups probably really do favor Florida State a great bit. Can Florida State win the game if they don't win up front? Like, is there enough strength with a Deuce Spann and a Micah Pittman if Johnny Wilson makes it back and these running backs that even if they can't neutralize LSU's front four largely, they still can probably piece together enough drives to win a game because they have such a favorable matchup on the perimeter, on the outside, on the edges, and with their backs coming out the backfield?
Mike Norvell has earned his undergrad, master's, and PhD at doing just that here at Florida State the last couple of years, where there's a deficiency up front for most of his wins. He doesn't have a lot of them here, but the ones he got and the games he's been in down to the wire, they have been decidedly at a disadvantage up front, specifically the opponent's defensive line against Florida State's offensive line. Just look at Brian Kelly's game last year here in Tallahassee. Look, they ran the ball well in the second half, but they're relying on explosive plays and then passivity by that defense to put them in a position. And if not for a bad snap late, they might win the game outright because of Mackenzie Milton magic, like the actual one time that happened last season. So, yeah, absolutely. Because of the scheme that they've already shown with a worse offensive line last year and the year prior, that they can still draw up explosive plays in the running game when they're going to get destroyed up front if they played it in a straight-up manner. They absolutely could, because I don't foresee LSU getting into the mid or upper 30s in this game. If they get to 30, I'd be kind of surprised in general. So I think there is a path there. The hope is that you don't have to do it that way, but I think there's a path there.
What about you, Corey? Florida State's going to have their hands full, I think, with LSU's front four. They don't necessarily have to go out. Do they have to go out there and neutralize that to win this football game, or can they just kind of hold down the fort for as long as possible, and Jordan's going to be able to make enough plays because they're going to have favorable matchups with the backs out of the backfield, with Micah Pittman, Deuce Spann, etc.?
Man, I just think Jordan Travis is the neutralizer. He changes the way you defend the run. He changes. You don't just crash towards the running back. You really have to honor the read, because if he pulls it, it can be a 50-yard run. They don't play quarterbacks like that. Most teams don't. So I just think that changes. What would you say, the urgency that a defensive lineman has getting to the ball, because he doesn't know if he really has the ball. The quarterback running right around him as he's chasing the running back. I think it makes you a little hesitant. And I think that, I think that's one of the reasons Florida State ran for 260 against Notre Dame last year and ran pretty well against everybody, not named Clemson and Florida. And Jordan was injured for half that game and still ran for 100 yards. So I think that Jordan Travis can that's what he's done. That's what he does. With a not great offensive line, his ability back there to run can kind of open up things in the running game and can kind of neutralize an otherwise good run defense, because it's a real option. It is a real option. So that's what I think. That's Florida State's best chance. Jeff was talking about that on Headlines. I agree with him. I think Jordan Travis has to run. He has to make plays with his legs just to open up other things, show it twice. I don't know you're going to call a bunch of designed runs, but he's got to keep it a few times, and he's got to make plays when he does. It's not just reading the safety, Jordan Travis, in this game. He's got to read the DN and the outside linebacker, too, on those runs and pull it at the right time and get a couple first downs that way, and then see how LSU reacts. But, yes, LSU has an advantage up front. They have a big advantage of wide receiver, and they have a big advantage at defensive line against Florida State, the people at Florida State that are trying to defend that. Other than that, I think it's an even game. Maybe I think Florida State's better at other spots. It's just how much better, how big how do you mitigate what LSU can do up front on the defensive line, and how do you mitigate what they can do at wide receiver, because they're stacked at wide receiver. They're stacked at both, really.
Tom, do we have to wait to Warchant Report to get your prediction, or the Jeff Cameron Show 1 to 3 o'clock later today? Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Yes, because I haven't thought about it enough.
String it out.
We'll string it out. There will be a prediction. How about that's my prediction? Will be.
Oh, there you go. Nice. When do you get? So you're getting in New Orleans on Friday, right, Tom?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right, Aslan. Do we know yet? Thursday? Are you coming with me? Are you coming with Stephanie and I? What's the story?
I don't know, everybody. Haven't I asked him a few times and he said no? Apparently today he changed his mind. So I don't know.
I didn't change my mind. I thought it was obvious, and I know it's the way I talk in general, but I was being sarcastic. Of course you could ride with us. We don't care. We don't want you to, but if you have to, you can. See, I did it again, everyone. But Tom, when are you gonna be there? You're gonna be there Friday early afternoon?
Yeah, lunchtime, I'd say. I got tickets to see the Preservation Hall Jazz Band on Friday at one point, and then other than that, it's wherever the wind on Bourbon Street and elsewhere takes me.
Oh, I can't wait. We're all gonna be in a gutter.
What's the schedule on Sunday for Warchant Game Day, by the way, Tom, for the folks that won't be able to make it out to New Orleans?
Thank you for bringing it back to that professional side, Aslan. So for road games this year, the pregame show starts an hour before kickoff, all road games. So 7:30 Eastern is kickoff of the game or thereabouts. So we'll start at 6:30 Eastern on Warchant TV. And that link that you have for the pregame show will take you all the way through the postgame. So for home games, it's a little bit different, but the next two are not in Tallahassee. So 1 hour before kickoff, 6:30 Eastern, will be on Warchant TV. And that's where you can remain for the watch along and the postgame show.
Boom. That's Tom Lane, director of original content for Warchant.com, as well as the executive producer of the Jeff Cameron Show, coming up 1 to 3 o'clock later here on Warchant TV, as well as 93.3 FM in Tallahassee. Tom, the knowledge, much obliged. Thank you, sir.
Mardi Gras, baby. Let's go.
Winning season, we keep saying it, it's here. Football season is here. Week 1 of the college football year, Saturday, huge Saturday. Hopefully you're out there in New Orleans hanging out with Tom, Corey, myself, the entire Warchant crew over at the Howlin' Wolf. Put your bets in. Make some money during winning season. Go to mybookie.ag. Use a promo code WARCHANT, and your first deposit will instantly double. And then I want to tell him to do it, Corey. I think it's going to hit the over. I'm going to have to disagree a little bit with Tom. I won't be surprised if LSU hits 30. I'd be surprised if Florida State doesn't hit 30. So I see the over in our future. But you can check out all the updated lines, over-unders, as well as the props over on MyBookie, where you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Use that promo code WARCHANT, mybookie.ag.
Growing up, my dad used to take me to the game at the stadium. We'd watch our favorite team play, and then we'd always eat at Zaxby's. That's why it means so much to me that Zaxby's is the official chicken of college fans. To me, they go together perfectly. It reminds me of my dad and...
Oh, come on, Ref! Are you serious? Get some glasses! Terrible call!
Now I take my kids to the game, and we always eat at Zaxby's too. It's tradition.
We're proud to be the official chicken of college fans. Zaxby's, indescribably good.
And don't forget to listen in for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week every Monday on Wake Up Warchant.
All right, of course, I want to get back to some of the stuff that Coach Norvell was talking about on Tuesday. I'm not trying to create any drama or anything here, I promise. But I kind of feel like he was kind of needling Brian Kelly when he was asked about the quarterback not being announced and whether that affects things. And not in a way of like, oh, hey, like it's my turn to take my medicine now because I did that to him last year. It was almost, I've almost felt like it was him just almost kind of like daring, like, Brian, like what? It doesn't matter, man. Like we're going to win this game. I don't think this game is going to indicate anything about Mike Norvell's future at Florida State. Finally, I'm ready to say that. I don't think it's going to indicate anything about how the season is going to go. But, man, he is so confident about this game. It's going to hurt his feelings if he loses, but I'm very interested to see how they're going to play because this feels like a supremely confident football coach and his team. And like I'm at the point now where he believes so much in Jordan Travis, I will believe it. Like I just don't see the road of them losing to LSU at this point because he just seems so confident right now. I mean, did you take anything away from his comments or, the confidence maybe that in any of his statements that he made on Tuesday?
No, not really.
All right.
I can act like I did, though.
Well, no,
I mean, I want it to
fine.
be a talking point.
No.
I didn't. I think he is, as he even said, like, when he was talking about quarterbacks playing with confidence, like they all say they have confidence at this time of year. I think all coaches look like this at this time of the year. It would be weird if they looked gun shy or nervous when they're talking about, I don't know, we don't have much of a shot in this one, I don't think. Like of course he's confident. But I think he's a believer in what he's built. I just truly think that. I don't think this is coach speak. I don't think this is smoke and mirrors or false bravado. He believes in what he's built, and he believes in how hard his team has worked. The only concern I am too, honestly, I do believe he's built this thing up to respectable. The only thing that concerns me going into this game, well, number one, it's a bunch of guys playing on a stage that they're not necessarily accustomed to. But also, they just don't have, the roster isn't special yet. And I just feel like
But you ran through LSU's roster yesterday, and we're talking about that's not special either.
They do, though. They have a special wide receiver, at least one, and they have a couple of special defensive linemen. I don't know that Florida State has anybody that's like first-day draftable right now. LSU has multiple guys. Now, that doesn't mean you can't beat a team like that. I mean, again, Florida State lost plenty of games where they had a bunch of first-round picks. It happens. In a close game, sometimes special players just go win games. They just make plays to win games. I mean, look at Florida State in 2016. That team could have lost 6 times. Well, they had number 4, and other teams didn't.
Well, he's talking about 13 like he's on that level, I feel like, man.
He might, and that's a good point. We'll have to see it. These next 2 games are so big for Jordan Travis in what he can end up being, what his season ends up being, what his career ends up being. If he can go out and continue to play like he's played, like, look, man, I'm telling you, he finished the year as a competent passer and is a pretty dynamic dude overall. I thought he was good against BC. I thought he was great late against Miami, and I thought he was good against Florida when he played. So if he can string together another game like that against LSU on this stage, that's his arrival. This could be like his arrival because people will be watching. The last time the nation really tuned in to watch Jordan Travis, he was taken out of the game for McKenzie Milton. He was. Now they put up 28 in that game before he was taken out, but everybody got so excited about his backup. And then people just once they lost to Jacksonville State, nobody watched Florida State the rest of the year. They saw the highlight of the pass to Parchment, but that was it. This will be the first time and then the Florida game was at noon. Nobody was really watching that either. So this will be the first time the nation is tuned in to see Jordan Travis in a full calendar year. And I just think it's so big for who he can be in his showcase to show people, yeah, man, I'm a real quarterback. I'm not just a dude that can run around and throw the ball occasionally. I'm a real quarterback that can beat you with my arm, my legs, and my brain. And nobody's seen that yet. You saw glimpses of it last year. You really did. But let's see. This is the time you get to see if he's taking the next step. You loved what he did against Duquesne. It was simple, but he made it look simple. He made it look easy. That's fun. Let's see what he does when everything's ramped up a little bit. But yes, there is a chance that Jordan Travis has a very good year. It has to start Sunday. If he has a really good game Sunday, if he's the best quarterback on the field, if he outplays Jaden Daniels by a pretty substantial margin, they're going to win the game. No matter what the defensive line disparity is, they're going to win the game if Jordan Travis has a very good game.
Yeah, I will say their ceiling to me will be like exponentially. The ceiling will be raised quite greatly if Jordan has a really good game on Sunday and they end up winning that game. Like, I don't think this is going to indicate anything about Norvell and his future. Like, maybe he feels some personal anxiety about his job security if he loses to LSU. I don't think that's going to affect the way he prepares his team. To your point, he believes in what he's doing. And because, like, we saw it last year. I mean, we saw that team start off 0-4, but fight back through it. And now you can maybe say to yourselves, well, that's you can't ask these guys to fight back from maybe like a 1-2 start after what they were through last year. I don't think with the way that he's ingrained, call it culture, whatever you want to call it, but just the way they operate, man, I just don't see one loss shaking him. And if they were to lose to LSU and Louisville, I still don't think it's going to really shake the way he's going to get this team prepared moving forward. They still probably can go off and maybe upset a team or two and then still end up winning 7 games and all the kind of things that we talked about for a potential floor for the team. It just, to me, man, he's just talking like a very confident coach. And the way that Brian Kelly talked about things during his press conference on Monday too, man, he's not very, he's not very shy about what he thinks he has with this program and some of these players. But to me, it just sounds like that. Like Norvell just feels really, really good about what he has with this team, and I think probably a lot of it comes back to the quarterback. And if that quarterback does play well, that changes the entire calculus of this season because they.
Well, and don't you think? I mean, I know I know everybody loves the LSU defensive line, and it's a very talented group. But I think you could make an argument that Florida State's defense is as good as LSU's overall.
That was the second thing I want to get to. That's the thing. I don't know, Corey. What if the defense isn't as good as we think it is? And then that maybe also.
How good do we think it is? We had this discussion on headlines too.
Well, we thought it was going to be like top 30. We were thinking, hopefully.
Yeah, I tried to say top 40.
Okay.
Like that, but I mean that is a difference. But but what is a top 40 defense?
Well, they finished the year 60th. They looked like the 90th, 100th in the first 4 or 5 weeks.
They looked like the 1000th. They look like worse than Child's High School.
So they probably finished out the season playing in that 40 range to end up being in the 60s. So we want to see them play the way they did to kind of close out last year.
But even then, last year they closed it out fine. But they gave up 20-something points to BC. They gave up 20-something points to Miami. They gave up 20-something points to Florida. Like being a top 40 defense in 2022 means you're going to give up about 25 points a game, somewhere around there, probably 380 yards. You're not. This isn't a top 10 defense, but I think it can be good enough. The offense is the thing that, it needs to at least stagnate from how it was, at least be static from what it was the last half of last season. If it's that defense, that should be good enough to win if the offense takes the step we hope it takes. That defense would be good enough. It's not going to be dominant. It can be decent, right? Don't you? But I think I've always thought that's the ceiling for this defense was decent. Decent meaning top 40-ish, which means LSU would probably gain 380 to 400 yards and score 25, 26 points. The offense has to take care of some stuff.
But what if they're not static? What if Jermaine and Kier really just cannot be replaced?
Hey, by the way,
that we were expecting and hoping.
Shout out to Kier, man. He made the Rams team. He made the 53.
You called it, man. You were on top. You were all over Kier as soon as he got to campus, man. Like you really saw something and were hoping for something. You nailed it. So
yeah, so undrafted, and he made the 53-man roster, man, for the Super Bowl champs. That's awesome. I was really surprised he didn't get drafted, and now you can say Florida State lost 2 NFL defensive ends. So that's really cool that he made it. But yeah, that is the concern. Like I think you're better across the board, really, at every position, except defensive end. And you got to see what this defensive end group will look like. We'll know a lot more, obviously, after Sunday night. But I just don't expect the defense to take a big step back. I think at worst it'll be what it was. But let's not pretend that this show is predicting a dominant defense or a good or great defense. We want a decent defense. Decent defense is how you get to 8 wins.
Okay.
Great defenses win 10 or 11. This is not going to be a great defense. There are not NFL players stacked upon this depth chart. There are pretty good college football players, so it should be a pretty good college defense. But they are going to give up some plays and some points, especially when they go up against special guys, and LSU's got a few. But hold them to 24 points.
That's
not
too much
to ask.
I guess week 1 for them. I mean that's their first game, new systems, new coordinator, new quarterback. I just feel like, but if you can't get to that kid, he's talented enough, and those guys on the outside, like listen, man, Malik Neighbors, LSU fans are talking about him, and even like their media are talking about him the way that we've been talking about Johnny Wilson in terms of like this, busting onto the national stage. Watch out, this could be a very big year for this young man. And he had a pretty good freshman year last year, so he's got a little bit more too. So I mean that's like the only thing that kind of crept in my mind is that, like, what if the defense maybe isn't as good as it was last year, which then is making Jordan look a little bit better, and then maybe gives a little bit of a false sense of what they can be overall. But that's, again, I think that's a very unlikely situation. Like I don't think we've seen fool's gold from this defense, but it is something that's kind of crept into my mind about just the fact that they can't get to the quarterback. Like Jermaine and Kier, maybe they just were really good players and we can't replace that. That kid given time thrown to those guys, it's going to be a problem, man. But, maybe that just means that they'll score in the 30s and Jordan will score 35, 36 because, again, I think even if that defensive line caves in Florida State's offensive line, I don't know what that linebacking core and what that secondary, how special they really are. But maybe you don't have to worry about that when the quarterback doesn't have a clean pocket and lots of time to make good decisions. But, I mean, we've seen Jordan do really well improvising stuff, so.
Yeah, but I wanted the point I meant to get to, and I forgot the point I tried to make at the beginning of my ramblings was comparing the two defenses. And there's nothing that tells us that this LSU defense is anything special. The front could be special,
yes,
but if the back seven is just kind of then you're not going to have a great defense. You could have a pretty good one, but so I went back and looked at their team last year, and again, a lot of new faces in the secondary, not as good as some of the guys they lost. But, in that bowl game, and I know it's hard to judge bowl games because half the teams don't play anymore. It really does matter now more than ever if you care or not. They gave up 42 points to Kansas State. They beat Texas A&M to close their season, but they gave up 24 points at home to an A&M team that was playing a not good quarterback. That kid was not good, really. But, they did what gives you a little pause is when they cared to play. Like, say, at Alabama last year.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Man, they gave up 20 points. Didn't that game go to overtime?
I think so.
I think they gave up 2 touchdowns in regulation to that offense that had the Heisman winner and 2 incredible wide receivers. So, but it's a different LSU defense now. Some of those guys are gone. Many of them have gone on to the NFL, have gone on to the NFL. One of them is now at Alabama. So, the point being, these guys on this defense have never really accomplished jack squat. They have not proven that they are a good defense by any stretch. Florida State has at least proven they're a decent defense. This group, and I'm talking about Deloach, Jamie Robinson, Duke Cooper, Kevin Noles, the 2 defensive tackles, McClendon. All these guys have been in the mix on a defense that the last half of last season was decent. These LSU kids, while they've played a lot of football at other places, they haven't played together as an LSU unit to have any sort of experience and success to draw on. So they are such an unknown. Like, this LSU defense is one of the most unknown commodities that I can remember a Florida State team going up against. Yeah, we know you got 3 good defensive linemen, 3 to 4 good defensive linemen. Your linebackers have done jack squat in their college careers so far. Really, I mean, you have 4 cornerbacks transfer in. 3 of them are going to start, and you have no idea that none of them have done. They've started a lot of games, they played a lot of football. They don't have a ton of accolades to their name, so you don't know how good these guys really are. And I just think, if you hit them early, if you score 2 touchdowns on your first 4 drives or three drives, and you got 17 with halfway through the second quarter, they're going to be looking around, going, "Man, we might not be any good. We're not good right now." Like, there's no success to draw from. We don't know how they respond to giving up points, to giving up a big play or 2 big plays or 3 touchdowns, because they've never done it as a collective before. Lord knows this Florida State defense has, and we saw how they responded last year. They were pretty good in their response. So I just think, again, that could be an advantage, is these LSU defenders have never been in this together. We have no idea how they're going to react when the real bullets start flying. Pardon the metaphor there, but we really don't. So that's why I wonder that's what gives me a little bit of confidence that Florida State's defense could be the equal of LSU's, just because we don't know about LSU's.
Alabama won 20-14 in regulation. LSU dropped to 4-5 after that contest. They were a 4-4 team, limping into Tuscaloosa, and put the fear of God into Nick and those.
Yeah, boys. They sure did. What happened that game? I wonder. And then they went to they played Arkansas at home the next week and lost in overtime 16-13. So, man, they put it together for 2 straight games. Like, those are 2 great defensive performances, to give up 13 in regulation and 20 to that Alabama team. That was the same Alabama team that put up 40 against Georgia when their 2 wide receivers were healthy.
Last thing from me, Corey, that I was kind of thinking about earlier on in the day and then parts of the week. This for a lot of people that really do believe in Mike Norvell and believe that he's doing the best that he can, and that there is real progress, and that we need to invest time and patience into him because his process will pay off. and you talk about the way that LSU played last year. There was so much dysfunction. They did string together a couple good performances. Like what if Orgeron 2021 LSU was pretty much Jimbo 2017 Florida State, but instead of them hiring a Willie Taggart, LSU went and hired like a Mike Norvell. Like they went and hired Brian Kelly to stop the bleeding and turn this thing around. So that thing isn't going to really fall too much further than what it was last year because he's just so established. I mean, he's been around. He's done it at a couple different places at the Power 5 level as well. And that's like the only other kind of concern I have is when I just think about the coaching sort of edge. Because you talked about when they had their heads in the game, LSU, they played quite well. Now, they didn't win the game against Alabama. So, it all counts the same if you win or lose. But, maybe we're not factoring in just what a coaching staff can do when he does have some pretty good talent around him, just how quickly maybe he can change fortunes because he's not inheriting as much of a sort of reclamation project as Mike had to.
Yeah, well, he's definitely not doing that, but I think the comparison to what Willie took over is apt. I think that's a similar one. Florida State had been great a few years prior and then was clearly trending in the wrong direction, and the dysfunction really fractured the locker room. It fractured the culture. Like there was no culture that Willie Taggart came into, and he certainly didn't build up any, but there was no culture. And I can't imagine. I mean, LSU went 3-6 in their last 9 games. These guys are used to losing. I think Brian Kelly's a very good coach, and I think by the end of this year and certainly going into 2023 and 2024, if he can recruit at the level LSU always seems to recruit at, they're going to be tough. That's going to be a problem. It's going to be problematic. But the first game, I don't know. I just don't know what kind of culture, identity can be established in a spring and in a month, a spring practice and then the month of August. I just think that there's going to be some lumps, man. There's going to be some growing pains. You hope Florida State's the one that's delivering them. You hope you put a beat down on them. I don't foresee that happening, but I don't know. It's hard to turn it around that quickly. This is a team that's used to losing games. It's a program that's, after having the best offense of all time in 19, it is a program that's lost more than it's won the last 2 years. And then, like I said, they finished 3-6 in their last 9, and half that team is gone. So it is a brand new unit that has it's cool to wear the uniform. I know they feel a sense of confidence because they're at LSU and they're all good high school players, but none of them have proven anything on the field. I shouldn't say none of them. Very few have proven anything on the field. In a coaching staff in one fell swoop, I don't know that can instill the kind of program that you need to be worried about that right now. Next year, when you ask me that question, when they're getting ready to play him in Orlando, I think I'll have a different answer. I think we'll know. We'll have a lot of proof and evidence of what Brian Kelly has done. But we also need to know what his quarterback's going to be. Let's break down the 2023 LSU game, Aslan. What do you think? You think Florida State's going to have an advantage at quarterback? You think Jaden's going to be there still?
Over under 0.5, the starting quarterbacks from 2022 starting in 2023.
I say over.
Okay.
I say over.
All that NIL money going to go to Jordan, keep him around.
Say, man, like what if Jordan takes this team to an 8-4, 9-3 season, has over 3,000 yards of offense and 30 touchdowns total, all ACC honorable mention, wins a bowl game, but isn't an NFL prospect? Would he not want to come back and make some money and do it one more time with a even better offense? Because you got to assume all those guys will be coming back. Like literally, they don't have a senior on the offense. Except Pokey.
I've never bought into the whole this is his last dance thing, but that's been out there. So, I don't know. But I'm with you, yeah. It wouldn't make sense to leave. Like, yeah, run it back. Run it back. You have all these guys coming back, too. Yeah, you're not going to lose.
And he'll be coming off like a win over Florida, a win in the bowl game. He'll already know what it's like to beat LSU because he beat them in New Orleans. He's going to be looking forward to 2023 to get to play him in Orlando. Where are we having our Warchant party there? Is it going to be a Magic Kingdom? Can we rent out the Princess Castle?
All right, that's a good point. That's a good stopping point right there. If you like the show for the previous 43 minutes and 20 seconds, join us live at 6 p.m. We'll be live here on Wednesday night for a live edition of Wake Up Warchant presented by Corner Pocket Bar Grill, as well as our good friends over at DeLuna Coffee. And then be on the lookout, I'm guessing probably later this morning, 10-ish, Probably we'll put the Renegade Express thread up, keep it up for a few hours, and then we'll put that together before we get on the road so you guys can hear it on Thursday, or on Friday, rather. The live show will be your Thursday podcast, so bear with us. Jeff Cameron Show coming up 1 to 3 o'clock. Practice, again, closed on Wednesday, but we'll be filming the War Chant report. Maybe we'll have that ready for you folks later today. Who knows? But
and also subscribe to War Chant. It's $1. It is a friggin' $1. You get to hang out with a bunch of Florida State fans, chop it up in there, have some opinions, get mad at people, come back at people, make some friends. All that stuff happens on the Tribal Council, man. And you get to read all of Ira's stuff, some of my stuff, Gene's nuggets, Langston's recruiting tidbits, all for $1 for an entire year.
Hey, we didn't talk about the offensive line at all. Should we have talked about the offensive line? Or did we talk about it in a roundabout way? Or we just drowned everything out with
we'll talk about it in a roundabout way. We'll talk about. I like the way the ball was snapped on Tuesday. I did. Genuinely, I did. I kept glimpsing over every time, and it was they were pretty consistent with the snaps.
I guess maybe the confidence level of the people on the show should maybe indicate where the offensive line is, or maybe just the confidence that you have in the quarterback. That it really doesn't matter, man. Just don't make it a jailbreak, and it'll probably work out. But I know people probably want specifics, but we can't give you specifics on the offensive line. But look at the footage. Some guys were back out there that you guys usually want to keep an eye on. So,
and I think they have enough good stuff on the offensive line, enough capable bodies that it should not be a train wreck on Sunday night.
All right. Good stuff.
There you go. That's what I wanted to say.
Shebang. All right, we're done. That is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Again, live 6 o'clock later tonight. We'll see you then. Have a great one, everybody.